So my name is Susan Dawson, chairperson of the Phibsborough Village Tidy Towns. The national competition started over 60 years ago with the aim of beautifying our towns and cities through ensuring the streets are clean and tidy and are adorned with plants and flowers. We first entered the competition in 2015, improving the village through regular cleanups to counteract the ongoing litter and dumping problems, and greening the area with planting are some aspects of our voluntary work. We have not been able to meet regularly for cleanups during the pandemic, though individuals do still do their own patches. So our main achievement this year is the wonderful mural on Crossguns Bridge on the Royal Canal, depicting canal wildlife. In recent years, the emphasis has moved towards addressing the climate change challenge. How do communities respond to these challenges? We have to think globally and act locally. So we declared a climate emergency and formed a climate club. As Walt Disney says, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So the club is addressing 3 strands of the climate emergency: sustainable energy, sustainable use of resources, repair of the natural environment by increasing biodiversity. We have two groups working on this, a sustainability group and a biodiversity group. If you are interested in volunteering for either of these groups, do let us know. You can contact us through the website, Facebook, or directly by email. So the first online Buzzfest event we had was the Eco-Friendly Spa Day. Sustainable use of resources using natural ingredients for homemade beauty products. Emma Manning created videos showing us how to make lovely products. We are happy to send out copies to anyone interested. I know some TY students loved them, and my husband Paul is quite taken with the beard balm. Softens the beard nicely. The Phibsborough Sustainable Energy Community has been formed, supported by Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland and the Mater Hospital. The Sustainability Group is working with a local purpose-driven enterprise, Climate 23, to develop an energy master plan and register of opportunities. We will be presenting their plan later in the year. So biodiversity is the theme for this online Buzzfest event. The Biodiversity Group is creating a pollinator-friendly and biodiverse zone in a garden behind the library beside the Mountjoy car park. Here is a photo of Paul trimming a pathway through the garden. It does not look like much at the moment, but in a few weeks' time he will trim last year's growth more, and this will allow new growth. There is great biodiversity going on in the undergrowth even now. We have the use of flower beds in St Michael's Church grounds for growing plants for the garden, and a group of keen gardeners are caring for them. We worked with Dublin Bus to get Swift boxes installed in the Dublin depot at Broadstones. So a biodiversity action plan is being supported by the Community Foundation in Ireland. 2 ecologists, Mary Tubridy and Niamh Burke, are working with the biodiversity group. The first step is to identify and map the species in the area, and from that information we can develop a plan to increase biodiversity. But as a community we need to take ownership of the project, so the biodiversity group have undertaken to map the trees in Phibsborough as part of the species identification and mapping of the area. There are a lot of trees in Phibsborough. So this evening we will learn how to use the Curio XYZ tree mapping app, in the hope that some of you will volunteer to do your own streets. So Aoife will demonstrate how to use this app. And then Then Cathbert O'D of Be Urban will discuss projects organised by Nature RX and Be Urban to create pollinator corridors, including the So Wild project. She has been working tirelessly for many years to create a green corridor between the Royal Canal and the River Liffey by increasing pollinators for bees. We all know that bees are essential for food production, but we are not leaving them enough wild green spaces for them to thrive. So I'd like to thank the Community Foundation for funding online Buzzfest and the Biodiversity Action Plan, and Aoife and Kath for sharing their knowledge and experience, and Gerard for organising this event. These are our contact details through Facebook, through our website, the email and Instagram and Twitter. And this is Kath's contact is beurbanstudios@gmail.com. We will put these contact details up at the end of the session tonight. So thank you, and I will now hand you over to Aoife for the tree mapping demonstration.
Thank you, Susan. Sorry, it's just taking a while for the slide too. Okay, so while we're waiting for the slides for me to kind of get control and to move forward the slides, there we go. So basically, I work with Susan on the biodiversity kind of subgroup in Fitzborough Tidy Towns. And so we're kind of involved in this initiative to kind of identify and map the biodiversity in Fitzborough. And from that, we'll hopefully be able to create an action plan, as Susan said, but the first step is mapping it. So if I move on. So part of this is actually mapping the trees in Fitzborough. So what we've been able to do is we've been able to use kind of an initiative or join an initiative that Dublin City Council have ongoing, which is using citizen science to map and identify trees in Dublin. So basically what Dublin City Council have done is they've kind of partnered, I suppose, with this company, Curio XYZ, to create like a map of all the trees in Dublin. And through that app, you can actually add details of the trees, such as like the tree species and kind of maybe other details like the health of the tree. But we'll show you that later when we do the demo of the app. But I don't work for Dublin City Council, but they do have a map, a website on this. It's called Mapping Green Dublin. And they kind of say the aims of their project is to kind of identify areas in Dublin with tree deficits, but also as well, if they know what type of trees they have, you know, it kind of gives them more information, as trees are a really important part of any plan to kind of help biodiversity, and also in terms of like pollution and as well climate change, right? So they can't find a key part, they form a key part of that. So that's, I suppose, the reason why I suppose Dublin City Council are doing this initiative. So why we're doing it, as Susan said, we have received funding from the Community Foundation to kind of enhance the biodiversity in Fitzborough. And so we're working with an ecologist to do this. But the first part of this is mapping and identifying the habitats and existing biodiversity in Fitzborough. So tree lines are a habitat. So that's why we want to identify all the trees in Fitzborough. So that's why we want the data. But also the added bonus is that Dublin City Council will be able to use this as well. So we can actually, once it's recorded on the app and Dublin City Council receive it, we can actually get that data from them as well for our own purposes. So that's about the app. So there, sorry, I pressed too quickly. Yeah, so the app is actually called Curio XYZ. You can download it on your phone. It's either Apple or Android. It has like versions for both. And you can see here, I just kind of gave a screenshot of Fitzborough here. You see every single little orange bubble in that map is a tree in Fitzborough. So you can actually see on the app that there's actually approximately 2,500 trees in Fitzborough that we have to map. So I'm just going to move on now to a demo. So we have a video kind of how to use the.
So to start mapping trees, you just need to click into the app on your phone. This will bring you to the home page. So the easiest way to begin is to select Explore by Map. So the map will automatically open up at your current location as per the GPS on your phone. So as you can see here, we've opened up around Shandon Park, and you see a number of bubbles. Any bubble with a question mark means that this tree has been mapped, but it yet hasn't been identified, like the species or details have not been added. Where you see bubbles with different colours with no question mark, that's a tree where we have added the details, and the different colours signify different types of trees, a different tree species. So I'm just going to go into one question mark and show you how to map the tree. So as you can see, this is an unlabeled record. So if I click show more, this opens up the record. To edit or add details, I just click edit details at the bottom of the screen. So this brings me into the record. So from here, I can add the tree species. So you can search for whatever species that you think it is. For example, you can add oak. And then you can add other details of the tree. For example, you can add the trunk diameter, which is useful information when we're trying to gauge the age of the tree. And you can also add the vitality class, whether it's very poor or if it's good, etc. So when you're finished adding the details, you can save the record here on the bottom left, or you can cancel out. In this case, I'm not going to save this record. I'm just going to cancel out. So I'm navigating back to the map. So you can also edit existing records. So I'm going to go into this record here, and you can see here that it's been mapped as a lime tree. So I can go and see more details. So here's a picture of the tree. And the tree, is, as we said, has been identified as a lime tree, and the trunk width has been added as 17 centimeters. If, for example, we think that the person who's mapped it has identified it as being the wrong species, you can actually edit the details. So this will bring you into the record, and you can update the tree species, or if you want to change the trunk diameter, you can change that. Once you're finished updating, you click save on the bottom left. Okay. Then to return to the map, to map another tree, just go and click on map on the bottom of your screen. So this brings you back out to the map. In some cases, you might find that there is a tree that isn't on the map. So what you can do then is you can add or create a new record. To do this, click this icon on the bottom right corner of the screen with the plus sign. It gives you two options, to either map a tree or to record an observation. So I'm going to map a tree. So this crosshair comes up, and you can just move the crosshair to the location of the tree. So I'm going to move it to here, and then I click the correct sign, and it brings me into a record. Okay, so again, I can just add the species that I want to add. For example, ash. And then I can add the trunk diameter. Once I'm finished and I'm happy with the record, I just press this sign here. Okay, so that's how you use the app. So please get mapping. As you can see here, we still have a lot of trees left to map in Fitzborough.
I think Kathy, you're still on mute, but I'm going to hand over to Kathy now. So,
hi, my name is Kathy Bernardet, and I'm a resident of Stony Batter for over 30 years now. I want to really thank Fitzborough for inviting us, because We've been working on the concept for the Lifeline, which is a nature corridor in our area of the city, for over 10 years now. But the only way that it's going to happen is through partnerships. And so this is a really important moment for me when Phibsborough and we have connected in our mutual interest in mapping the biodiversity in this area of the city and building on it. So this is the first of what I hope is going to be many joint ventures. I'm the creative director of a place in Stony Batter called Be Urban. And I'll just give you a quick background to Be Urban. Nature RX is our program that we've rolled out to, and then we call it a green prescription for North Central Dublin. But it really is, now I can't move the slides. I'll just have to wait a minute. I think they're not ready yet. Nature RX is feeding into our bigger vision for this corridor, which we call the Lifeline. Now, again, I'm not getting anywhere with moving. Okay. The Lifeline as a concept grew out of the Grange Gorman public consultations many years ago in 2007 and 8. And what we realized was when we attended those consultations was that beautiful 82 acres of wild nature was going to become a city over a period of time, a campus and a healthcare campus as well, campus for TU Dublin. And that really very little biodiversity was going to be left, let alone trees, on that site other than the pitches. So we started looking at other ways we could make everything that the community wished to happen on that site, which is everything from more access to nature to community gardening to exercise and also nature-based solutions. All those ideas that we thought we could bring to the campus, we thought maybe we need to look for another, an alternative site. And what immediately cropped up was this, which you see in front of you. And some of you will recognize as the Great Midwestern Railway cutting, which is now the Lewis. The Lewis has now occupied that. And so for a period of years, we didn't know whether it would be possible to save this beautiful biodiverse site that had reverted to nature over a period of 50 years or not. And we didn't have any clout as a small group of members of the community. So what did happen was it became the Lewis, as you know today. And we had to come up with another idea. Again, I'm not able to move these slides for some reason. Oh, here we are. Sorry. So in 2015, we held what's called Be Urban. We started working with bees in 2015, not to keep honey necessarily, but because we were fascinated by the way bees make decisions. They make decisions in a very democratic way. They have a long established system, and it really works in terms of sorting out problems for bees and finding appropriate new homes and habitat. And it's well documented by a scientist in the States called Thomas Seeley. So we use those principles, the way bees make decisions, in an international action science workshop to look at what we wanted in our area of the city and how we could accomplish it. And something very interesting came out of that session, which included 6 beekeeping projects from 6 different countries, artists, community members, etc., and members from Dublin City Council as well. And that was, I'm having trouble with these, they're hopping ahead. That was Be Urban, which we now occupy at 3 Manor Street. It's a studio, we call it a studio for social creativity, but basically it's the hub for this big idea to create an area devoted to nature, an outdoor classroom, a living laboratory in this area of the city, where the citizens of that area become citizen scientists and start looking at mapping, as Aoife was talking about, and start thinking about how they would like to live in their city differently. And of course, COVID has really jettisoned us into a new realm with this. We couldn't possibly have paid for a better PR campaign for nature than COVID. It's brought a lot of heartache, but it also has brought an incredible awareness of the importance of access to nature nearby. So the Nature Arts program uses artistic process and creativity to empower citizen science in different ways. And for a while, we've been running different projects. Initially, we got funding from the Grange Gorman Development Agency through their Percentage for Art scheme. And we went in for that funding in partnership with DIT, or TU Dublin's Environmental Science and Health Institute, and their Visual Communications department. That project has done several things so far. And the first one was to produce a brochure that explained, described all the things we want to connect with this corridor, everything from the Botanic Gardens, Mountjoy, Phibsborough, the Linear Park and Broadstone, Blessington Basin, obviously, and Grange Gorman, through Stony Batter and down to the National Museum at Collins Barracks, and hopefully to the Phoenix Park as well. So basically, we're looking at connecting the Tolka with the Liffey over a period of years through our relationship with nature and developing that in different ways. So nature, as has been pointed out, does not have borders, and it makes connections, and that's what we want to do with this program. And the picture there is sort of our ultimate dream of a land bridge that would bring Blessington Basin or Broadstone Park into the new campus and bring nature right through in a very dramatic way. The first project we did was prototyping a journal, because we thought, well, what we need to do is create a journal, very beautiful journal that people could use during the year to document their experience of nature, and that would create a whole lot of very interesting data, sensual data that wasn't necessarily this quantitative data that you usually take, like the tree survey that you're doing, but more about how do we feel about the nature around us. And that for us is even more important necessarily than the nature itself. And these are journal prototypes by, we did a project with visual communication students over a period of several weeks. And we still have these in the studio if anybody wants to see them. We've exhibited them, and there's some beautiful work that you can take a look at. And then we did the same thing with transition year students. And this is an example of two things that came out of that. One is a piece of music that was written based on a walk that a young musician took along the canal and up to the Botanic Gardens. And the other one is a study that a student did of the patterns in pigeons' wings, which she discovered by sitting quiet for a period of time. We also did these maps of parks. So we printed out the outline of various parks in our area, and then we got people to fill them in with the things that really excited them about those parks. And as you can see, each one was completely different and just totally fascinating. So the top left is a mother and daughter's walk through, this is actually Broadstone Park where our bees are. So the top left is a walk through Broadstone Park in the morning on the way to school, and all the different things that excited her daughter as they walked along. And red represents, the really exciting things, and then the cooler colors less so. And you can see there's a red, really red area there, and that's our bees that she was totally fascinated with. And then down below that, the two on the bottom left are mapping the same thing, and this is interesting for Aoife in that they're maps of trees. So one person saw the bottoms of the trees, or where the trees were located, and the other person was much more interested in the canopy. So it just demonstrates how differently we view places, and the social things became very important too. So you can't see it terribly well, but on the right bottom, there's a map of all the experiences that teenager had in that park over the years growing up in Broadstone, all the conversations that he had that have really affected his development over the years. And so another Nature RX project is our Natural Treasure Workshop. which takes people out into wild areas in our area, part of the city, introduces them to the medicinal and properties and the folklore around our native plants that grow here, which you might consider weeds, but actually are incredibly valuable. And we do make products. So a lot of these plants we're already using in our products, which is how we survive. We're not government funded. We don't have grants. So we have to survive based on the products that we develop in the studio. So this is one of those products that came out of Nature RX. You walk in the morning and you choose a plant that really resonates with you in a deep way, and you bring a piece of it back to the workshop. And in the afternoon, using a material called precious metal clay, which really the pattern of the plant, you make a piece of jewelry in silver. So these are pieces that we've made. There's lemon balm on the left on the top, and rosemary on the right, and then passion flower and calendula. And what happens is people make 2 or 3 pieces, and they take their favorite home with them, and then they give us 2, and those go into the shop for sale. So that helps us survive. And that's how we try to work our projects. There's recently was launched, and I think I saw it connected with something that you'd sent out, the Lives We Live public art book. And this is, we have a description of that project in this book, which you can look at. It's now available online. So now 2021, and as I said, we did a lot of hands-on workshops, and this was a bit of a shock for us in that the studio is really designed around people meeting and exchanging information and a lot of sort of hands-on work, which we had to stop. And in fact, we haven't been able to open even for click and collect or anything since pretty much, well, we were open a little while last summer, but it's almost a year now. So we're in the process of rethinking our projects so that we can take the best out of the online side of things and combine it with hands-on workshops that people can do socially distanced on their own. And this is one of the things that we've done to raise funds is to start a series of soaps that are made using wild foraged ingredients in the area and introducing you to those plants. So there'll be 4 of these over the year, and you can get a subscription to these. In this one, there is seaweed, which has sea buckthorn that grows in Bull Island in it. The broadstone soap, which has our bee ingredients in it, and wildflowers from the Royal Canal. So these are the 4 projects that we're planning to roll out over the process, over the year. And the first one, one is a community rain garden project, which will be prototyping. We're in the process of prototyping now, that will take the rainwater from roofs into a tank that's like a raised bed almost tank, where you can grow pollinator-friendly plants, and also you're diverting that rainwater from the Liffey. What happens is our rainwater gets mixed with sewage, and during events where there's a lot of water, there's a lot of pollution that goes into the Liffey as a result. And so it's a big subject now these days in cities to divert rainwater from storm drains, and that's what this project is experimenting with. And we hope to roll it out on a much bigger scale. We have a potential funder to do that. Another is the idea of providing refugee housing for refugee bees, honeybees, the Apis mellifera mellifera, because these bees, about 80% of them die in the process of swarming, but also Apis mellifera mellifera is a really important species. It's the purest strain of this particular type of honeybee anywhere in the world that we have here. So we need to study them, and we need to find out how they live in the wild. And so these would be experimental houses that would be dotted around the area that you could monitor on a daily basis yourself and see how healthy the bees are and if they're successful. The journal, I've already talked about a little bit. The journal, we hope people will capture their experience of all these projects as well as their own personal experiences in the journal, which is coming out later in the year. And so the project I'm going to talk about today is So Wild, and it's the first one we're launching because we've sold seeds for years, but we don't know where they end up. We know that people have planted them everywhere in the area, and we would love to do a bit of a citizen science project looking at where these seeds are planted, how they're growing, what insects they attract, and then also train people how to collect seeds, because these seeds are our own native species, and we need to, like the bees, protect them and help them grow and service the bees. So we would like to train people up on how to collect local wildflowers and then keep a seed library. So the process is really illustrating nature's circular economy. So I was asked to talk about the difference between seeds and seed bombs, because seed bombs are a very trendy and fun way of spreading wildflower seeds. But the problem with seed bombs is, certainly the commercially made ones, is that they're very often made with non-native seeds, which we don't want to spread. The other problem with them is, in the process of making a seed bomb, it's very easy to destroy the viability of the seed itself. So because they're wet when you're making the seed bomb, they will then possibly germinate in the seed bomb and become, they won't work anymore. So we made seed bombs for a number of years in workshops with children, and they're absolutely wonderful to make. Kids get great fun out of them. But what we did was we threw those seed bombs into waste areas immediately so that we were sure that they had the best chance possible to survive. The history of the seed bomb is really places like New York City and Tokyo, where people were trying to seed derelict parks from their apartments. So it was a very different climate and also purpose than us today, where we can actually, or us in Dublin, where we can actually choose a little area, clear the patch and plant it. So that's what we're asking you to do. This is a little packet. It's very beautiful, and it makes a great bookmark when you're finished using the seeds, so that you empty the seeds out and plant them in an area, the area of your choice, but an area that you will monitor for the summer. And that needs to be cleared if you're planting seeds. Wildflowers find it hard to compete with grasses. So you'll need to find a space that you can clear, whether it's out in the public realm or if it's in your back garden or in a friend's garden, and plant them. And then at least every month do what's called a fit count. And all these different processes are, you can link into on our website on the So Wild page. The National Biodiversity Center has an incredible archive of information on all these topics. So there's a page devoted to doing what's called a fit count, when you look at a square of your little wildflower patch and you count for 10 minutes the amount of insects that visit it. So once you've done that, planted your seeds, we're hoping that you will map, you'll put a pin in Google and map where this little location is and start sharing your information. And this is an area that we're fairly new to. Dublin City Council already had developed the tree mapping software, so that's wonderful, but I don't think they have a facility for mapping this sort of thing. But if anybody knows, we love to hear. So in the meantime, we found a very interesting little app called Padlet, and we're going to set up a map that you can actually pin your project, and you can put in pictures and information. Here, I've actually put a pin on a few different projects that we're involved in locally in Stony Batter, and you can actually connect the projects with. You can make connections between projects. Like if you have about 5 different projects that you're involved in, you can link them. And that's very interesting for us because we would like people to form clusters. And this is a way, we're getting sick about talking about COVID at this point, and we want to create other things for people to talk about. So by creating a So Wild cluster, you pay for a pack of 6. I have one here, but you can't really see me. But anyway, this is a pack, and you get a card, and you get 6 of these packets in it, which you can give to neighbors or work colleagues or friends, whoever you want. And then you can work on this little project together. And on Padlet, you can actually connect your little cluster that you're working on and report information and share that then. If you can't share it in person, you can certainly share it online. What we want to achieve is creating an outdoor classroom, converting our area of the city into a space that you can study outdoors, either through your school or just individually on your own. And then through the So Wild project, we feel that 1,000 seed packets will create 100, sorry, it should be 10. It says 100 meters. 10 kilometers, 100 meters apart, sorry. The wild bees that we're talking about, that we're trying to help, the most fragile of them need something within 100 meters of where they're nesting. So that's how we've made this estimate, that by planting 1,000 seed packets 100 meters apart, we can create a network of 10 kilometers long network of foraging for these wild species that are endangered. So, and this is the packet. This is the system that we're promoting, and by completing, you'll complete the circle, the circular economy that nature has produced by harvesting the seeds in the autumn. And we've sourced these seeds from some very conscientious people, True Harvest and Echo Seeds. I recommend either of those places if you're looking for seeds yourself, and their contacts are on our site. But these are truly locally foraged seeds, and we want to begin foraging them ourselves. So in the autumn, hopefully things will have opened up by then. If they haven't, we'll do it online, workshops to teach people how to collect these seeds and then feed back into a seed library that we're forming, where we could just continue this process from year to year, and it'll keep growing. So that's basically the essence of what we're trying to do with this one project, but please visit our website. We have a lot of information on it, and it'll tell you where this project is coming from and why, and then also how you can engage in many, many different ways. Thank you. Thank you very much.